box setup. It definitely gives you the most performance out of all the options out there. On the road, you can stiffen everything up and make it a lot sportier.
Hey, what's up guys? Sean at Shock Surplus here, and I've got a special guest today, John Kingston, also known as Roaming Lost. Today we're gonna go over a lot of technical details, a lot of just really know-how about all these shock options for the Ram 1500. We are going to bookmark them on the bottom of this video if you want to skip ahead to any specific brand you're interested in. But for the beginning of this, we are going to talk about the actual progression that Kingston went through on his Ram 1500. He's got a 2020 Ram 1500 Rebel diesel. That is all important details because the diesel engine adds significant more weight to the front end of the vehicle, and a lot of manufacturers don't have a diesel specific setup, and so we've made some adjustments according to the springs that he's used on the final stage of his suspension, which we'll get into in a minute. So what we have initially is Kingston started off with the Falcon Sport system, moved into the Bilstein 6112, and then ultimately ended up at the Fox 2.5. So Kingston, tell me, what made you choose the Falcon just like right off the bat?
Well, availability,
yeah,
probably was,
yeah,
but that was like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So that was probably my first purchase, I think, was the kind of like suspension, wheels, and tires.
Was that before COVID or before or after COVID?
No, that was before.
Before, okay.
Yeah, because I got it right at the beginning of 2020 in January. So,
gotcha.
I guess that would be before COVID.
Yeah, right before.
Yeah, so yeah, and then, so, you know, this was the level, and I knew that the level allowed for 35s, so that was the goal, to run 35s.
35s are the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you have rubbing when you put this at the top setting? Did you have rubbing with your 35s, like right off the bat?
So at the level setting, you do have rubbing, but you just remove the front mud flaps. It's really easy. It's kind of just like 2 bolts, and you tap back a tab, and you're done. But then no rubbing.
Did you run it at the level height or at the heavy accessory height?
No, the heavy didn't work because it wasn't heavy enough.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think that's when you run when you have the winch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just ran it at the level.
Yeah. So Falcon has this is not the Ram specific one, but the same amount of grooves exist for the Ram. So they've got 3 different heights, and then a 4th height, which accounts for the heavy accessories. So heavier bumper, heavier winch, which is going to give you a level height, but a little bit more boost for that extra weight. And the other good thing too is like really plug and play, because it uses the factory springs. So the factory springs on the diesel is super important because they're much more specific than a lot of the parts that exist for the Ram 1500s from 2009 through 2018. It's all for basically the V8 engine. But when they came out with the diesel engine, they've had to split up part numbers and springs according to the different engines.
Yeah, and the diesel engine came out in 2020 when the 5th gen Ram or 1500 came out in 2019. So
okay,
yeah, so
gotcha. Was there anything that you didn't like on the Falcons?
It's just it rode stiffer, and I picked that truck because of the ride, and it was like really nice, but it rode stiffer. But I think that's kind of like you know, that will happen. Yeah. When going to a
Was it like jolty stiff, or was it kind of just like just firmer all around?
Firmer all around, because the ride on the Rebel is pretty soft.
It's pretty soft from the factory.
Really comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it just rode a little stiffer.
And you're running Milestar Patagonias?
Yeah, at that time I was running Cooper ST Maxes.
Okay.
So similar tire though.
Gotcha.
Not a mud terrain, but just
we always like to highlight the wheel and tire combination too, because a lot of people will level out their vehicle and then put on like really large wheels, like 20-inch wheels, and wonder like what happened to the ride quality. all that vibration from the road is being directly transferred to the wheel now instead of the rubber of the tire. And then you're feeling in the chassis and you're wondering what happened to your suspension, but it's really what happened to your wheel and tire combination.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of meat
So yeah, I kept the 18. You can't go any lower, and I didn't want to go any taller because of sidewall.
Yeah.
But yeah, 18, and then with
Gotcha.
a true 35, 12 and a half.
Okay. And so what made you go to the Bilstein, the 6112?
I think it was because of the ride quality.
Yeah, the ride quality is a big thing, right?
It has softened it up, and it definitely softened it up. Uses a different spring.
Yeah.
I don't think the difference between ride height, I think it was slightly lower on the Bilsteins, just because it wasn't, none of these were spec'd for the diesel.
Yeah.
So I think there's a slight change in the differences, between the Hemi and the EcoDiesel.
Yeah.
So that's why, when we went to the Foxes, we did custom kind of thing.
Yeah. So the Bilstein 6112s, Bilstein labels these as what, like 1.9 inches or I believe 2 inches of lift at the tallest height setting. Yeah. And you can see here, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 grooves for all your different height requirements. A lot of the time, most of our customers are either factory height or max height. Maybe a little bit tad lower, but like Kingston said, on this truck, you need at least 2 inches of lift to get to 35s, which a lot of people are always trying to stuff the biggest wheel and tire in there. The other thing to note is, like he said, these come with a new spring, but Bilstein has only built these so far for the V8 engine, as far as we've seen so far. So that's why it's a little the softer the spring for the V8 is going to be softer with a heavier engine on top of it. So that's probably why he got a little bit less of 2 inches of lift that he wanted. It basically decreased in height from his Falcon setup. So from the Falcon setup, it went from 2 1/4 inches of lift on factory springs. So that's a pretty true 2 1/4 inches of lift due to the preload. But then you go to new springs and a little bit lower of a max height according to Bilstein. So if you're looking for the most height, you might not want the 6112s, but if you're looking for a much better ride quality, I think the 6112s over the Falcon, from everything we've heard, is
price point wise too, these, you can't beat them.
Yeah. So the Falcon system, naturally, it comes with a lot more than this. It comes with the springs in the rear as well, or did it?
Oh no, it doesn't. So it's just straight, just struts.
Shocks, yeah. So the shocks and the struts by themselves came with.
And the rear shock has a reservoir with adjustment too.
Yeah.
So that was like a bonus, is that has a tow haul mode.
Oh yeah, the sport system with the adjustment.
Yeah.
And so that system was $1,500, and then the Bilstein system with matching rear 5100s or 5160s go for about $1,000. But you get a much thicker shock. The valving in this is a little bit different as well. This is a digressive valve shock, whereas TerraFlex, I believe, is still a linear. And so quite a few differences, but as far as bang for buck, I think the 6112 wins in this regard, because just the fronts are about $750.
Yeah. Like if I was going to do it over again, I would just skip the Falcons and gone straight to Bilstein until I went to the Fox, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to, if you can't go straight to Fox, and Fox probably has a lead time.
Yeah.
So it's like, just get the Bilsteins, save the money, and then I'm assuming, if someone is doing that progressive staging, they can sell the Bilsteins pretty easily. So
yeah, and so you probably ended up on the Fox because you're like, well, I need more height. And you want to maintain the ride quality, right?
Yeah.
So like you needed more height out of the Falcon, and then you wanted the better ride quality, and you're like, okay,
and then you combine the two, and you get Fox,
Yeah. So tell me about, what was the first thing you noticed when you went to the Fox 2.5s?
Well, the ride height for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, the ride height's like way. I mean, you can. I would say you definitely get 3 inches out of it.
Yeah.
And this is and it's like. We did the custom spring, or not custom, but
new
heavier spring. And so we had to. This probably has like 2 inches of threads showing.
Yeah,
ours
easily
maybe has 2 threads showing.
Yeah.
So it's using all of that, and then it lifted it quite a bit. If it wasn't for the CV axles, you could lift it way higher.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, these come from Fox with a 450-pound spring, which is once again meant for the V8 setups. What we decided to run with Kingston is a 600-pound spring because he's got the diesel, and he was eventually thinking about a heavier bumper and winch and some accessories on the front. So we opted for a little bit heavier rather than a little bit lighter and then having to adjust later. I think the truck rides pretty nice, very controlled, but we are curious to see what it would look like with a 550-pound spring, maybe a 500-pound spring with some more preload. But this is pretty much the top of the line that you can get for this truck right now.
Yeah.
It comes with dual adjustable reservoirs, high speed, low speed. So Kingston isn't too with this much gear on the truck. You're not doing too much fast desert going. Yeah,
it's pretty much just like the fire roads. Keeping that super comfy, and then but no big whoops or anything.
Yeah,
like it's not my truck isn't built for that type of travel. So, but it handles just way better.
Way better. Yeah. Plus, and you got the full 3 inches out of the front. So right now the front of Kingston's truck doesn't have anything extra on it. There's no bumper, there's no winch, nothing weighing it down. And we'll show you right now a little bit of what that front coilover looks like. Very little preload. He's got a true 3 inches of lift out of the front. Ride quality is great. We're not experiencing any premature topping out. Bottom out protection seems pretty good. We're gonna go for some rides later on today to kind of get a true feeling on that. Plus the adjustments here, the high speed, low speed adjustment just makes a massive difference when you've got, do you know how much extra weight you have in the back? With the camper and goose gear
I'm not
and all
sure.
this stuff?
The truck weighs about like 7,000 pounds though.
Okay.
So total.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this Super Pacific camper shell with the tent on it, I would probably
It's like 300 pounds.
Yeah, 300 or 400 pounds.
Goose gear's probably at least a couple hundred pounds.
Yeah.
Water, we got 10 gallons of water, so that's, I would say probably at least like 700 pounds.
I was thinking that's what I was kind of thinking as well. So an extra 700 pounds in the back really does a lot for body roll. Not a good thing, obviously, when you're out here on the trails and doing. Sometimes you do some rocky stuff, but you're expressing rocky trails and slow going stuff is not
my favorite.
Not your jam.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not our jam either, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you're just on normal fire roads and out and about, body roll is controlling that. Just like. I know when you're driving and you feel that a lot, you're just like always, like your just confidence kind of just always wanes when you're going around the turn. Personally, I like a really tight situation, right?
Yeah, when I run these on the road, I stiffen most things up.
Everything up
and
as well.
It's way sportier.
Yeah.
And with the diesel, the truck it's not slow by any means. So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's just like, it's definitely I daily drive it. So
yeah, we were playing, I think we've been playing catch up with you most of the time.
Yeah, I drive fast. Yeah.
Some of the other stuff we're going to get into that you didn't get to test out, but we're just going to talk about now because these are all options either now available for the Ram or coming soon, like the Eibach coilovers. What we have here is a lot of people are considering the Icon setup. This is a pretty standard 2.5 coilover, but what Icon does differently than Fox and from King and from who are the other big, and Eibach, is their digressive valving on their shocks. So just to clarify, some people say that Icon is too firm or too stiff, but what's really going on is at the beginning ranges of motion on the road, a digressive shock is going to just keep that, it'll be firm in the beginning ride zone of the suspension, and that's to reduce body roll. Keep it a sporty ride on your easy gravel roads, highways, twisties in the mountains, and then when you start getting fast and moving that suspension through its max travel and through its paces, that's when it really softens up. I like to always say, like, like Icon, similar with King, similar with Fox, is like the faster you go, the actual smoother it feels.
Yeah, I've noticed that with mine. It's like, it's well, especially on fire roads.
Yeah.
If you can go 60 down them, it's like just a regular red.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like Icon's really, they're basically doing kind of not the best of both worlds, but they try to keep a sporty ride for all the daily drivers. And then when you start hitting like the really aggressive stuff, then you actually feel very planted. I just always remember my Tacoma just wanting to hit it faster because like
it'll smoothen out.
Yeah, all this stuff was just really smoothed out. So yeah, we hear you internet forums. Icon might be firmer, is definitely firmer, and you're gonna feel firmer than a King shock or a softer Fox setup, but that's like intentional because when you're loading it up with a lot of gear, we like a digressive shock because it's gonna reduce body roll and keep it sporty until the going gets fast, and then it's gonna loosen up, and that's how the shock's designed to do. So I'm always going to give a +1 for Icon because I really like their kit on our Tacoma. Jeff ran their kit on his Tacoma as well. Really liked it until we needed some beefier long travel. So don't count Icon out. The Eibach setup that we're looking at here isn't out yet for the Ram 1500s, but we've heard that they are in progress. And this is basically Eibach's Pro Truck system mixed with their coils but put on a top hat. I believe that they give about 2 inches of lift as well. They're aiming for 2 inches of lift as well on the Ram 1500s. Super solid parts. Everything we've seen from the feedback from other people, really like these parts. We know that on the Toyota applications, they're actually providing more lift height on these full coilovers than on something similar like the Fox 2.0s and a Bilstein 5100. So if you're looking for more height, if height is a big concern, you usually definitely keep an eye out for what Eibach's going to be coming out with on the Ram 1500. Most likely they're going to go bigger than everybody else, and usually that encompasses a longer shock stroke and a taller spring. So we'll see what it actually ends up being though. And were you ever considering these Fox 2.0s?
No.
No.
Just because pricing wise, it's just like we already, kind of already had the others, and then it's just like go all out. You know? It's like
go all the way.
I've never actually had adjustable coilovers, so it was nice it was really nice.
Big leagues.
Yeah. Like all my other trucks were not common trucks, so it was never an option.
Gotcha. So the Fox 2.0 coilovers, super popular. These have been out for a long time for a lot of applications. Once again, this isn't the exact Ram fitment, but that's okay. All the thing is the same. Down here, you've got a adjustable coil spring collar, and this preloads the spring that gives you the lift that is designated by Fox. Most of the time, Fox puts these at 2 inches of lift out of the box. You could adjust down further to get factory height, and some customers do because they just want no lift and the best ride quality they can get. It's not advisable usually to provide more preload on these springs, but I have heard people doing that. But as you do more preload, ride quality tends to degrade a little bit. So really good option. These are rebuildable as well. So Fox really makes that public and known that all of their parts are rebuildable. Whereas something like Eibach, they don't have rebuild kits you can go out and buy. Icon does have rebuild kits you can go out and buy. Fox has rebuild kits you could go out and buy. Bilstein, you need to send these back to them to get rebuilt, and they are rebuildable. Quadruple confirmed. We're setting the record straight internet forums because we deal with their product managers quite a bit. $125 to get these rebuilt by Bilstein. Terraflex and their Falcon Shocks, I've heard can be rebuilt, but I haven't heard it from the horse's mouth on how they make that happen. So aluminum bodied, rebuildable, so long lasting. Typically, we don't see too many people rebuilding these. They usually sell them secondhand and then upgrade to a 2.5 option. But as far as budget goes, you know, these are about $950 for the pair. Eibach coilovers are coming in at about $850 for the pair. And the Bilstein 6112s are about $730 for the pair. The reason why I'm comparing those is, you know, Fox gets a lot of the press for their coilovers, but these are the 2-inch body at $950 a pair, whereas the Bilstein is a 2.6-inch body at $730 a pair. So you get significantly more shock for significantly less money. So once again, +1 for the Bilstein setup as a budget, just get it done, off-road aggressive shock option. That's going to last a long time. Even though they are rebuildable, they're not advised to be rebuilt by 50,000 miles like a Fox setup is or an Icon setup is. So really good, long lasting, one of our favorites. We sell a boatload of them, so maybe that's why I like them. And one of the newest things that just coming out for the Rams. This isn't the Rams specific one, but Bilstein has confirmed that they are arriving on shelves shortly. We've got some on order, but these are the 8112s, and they're basically brand new over the past year from Bilstein. These are not adjustable, but what they do have going on is a bunch of internals that really high-tech internals, basically a jounce cutoff up top and a rebound stop on the bottom. Basically, it's internal shocks inside that stop the main piston from maxing out, bottoming out, and topping out. Plus, they're the 2.6-inch body, 60-millimeter piston. And these are also digressively valved as well. So they're not adjustable right now, but Bilstein is arriving with adjustable front coilovers on all their applications. Probably not this year, since all the stuff that's been going on, but next year. The rear 8100s that match with this are rebound and compression adjustable. We don't have those here, but having rebound adjustment on your rear shocks helps tons with body roll. So while Fox addresses their adjustments with compression, like dual speed compression, Bilstein and Old Man Emu and I think those are the only two right now offering kind of full-size truck, mid-size truck, rebound adjustable shocks. So we really like the 8100 setups. We've got the 8100s on the Wrangler right now, and it's sometimes fun to play with those settings and to see how the vehicle behaves, you know, afterwards. Is there anything I forgot to cover? Do you have any questions?
What's the cost on the Bilsteins?
Oh yeah, so the Bilsteins, these are about $1,000 per corner.
Oh, okay.
So about $4,000 for everything.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so Bilstein 8112 is about $1,000 a corner. These are $450 for the front corners, $400 for the front corners, about $500 for the front corners. I think the Fox 2.5 setup comes in at about $3,000 for all four. So it's a pretty good deal. No, actually about more than that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the retail on these front adjustables is $2,000, and then the rear adjustables is about $1,300. Yeah, so closer to that. So yeah, huge budget, you know.
Yeah, what I did is I kept a pair of these.
Yeah.
And then, so when these get rebuilt,
oh, it's very
I still
good.
have a level.
Yeah,
so
that's good call.
Yeah, so you can keep your wheels and tires the same while these are being rebuilt. So
yeah. One thing that always just to revisit that is Fox, King, Icon all recommend their race shocks, their 2.5 shocks, to be rebuilt in the 20,000 to 50,000 mile range, and that really depends on how much you beat up the vehicle. There's plenty of people out in the desert all the time. You know, they're able to rebuild their shocks themselves, so they're rebuilding them in the 10 to 20,000 mile range. But after about 50,000 miles, definitely keep your brain on the ride quality. And if you notice the stuff getting a lot softer, then your shocks probably do need some servicing. And like Kingston said, keep your factory takeoffs, or keep a budget level suspension system around to put back on the vehicle while these shocks are being serviced. Right now, the service window is a long time. Bilstein was saying 8 to 12 weeks. Fox and King, who knows what their service intervals are right now, but luckily for Fox, King, Icon, you can buy their rebuild kits and go to an off-road shop or a kind of a shock service center to get that done a lot sooner than the manufacturer will be able to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, I mean, in SoCal, there's like AccuTune and all those places that will just, super easy.
Yeah, SoCal is the haven for kind of off-road racing. So find a shop out here with a bunch of Google reviews, some internet reviews, and they'll usually take care of you. SDG Suspension, KDM Shock Technologies, AccuTune Off-Road. What are some other ones?
Are they serviceable by just any shock type place? Does it have to be an off-road kind of shop?
No, I think, most of, shock, any kind of like shock, it could even be a car place, because what basically you need to happen is a vise to take the shocks apart, and nitrogen recharging. Because if you could just buy the rebuild kits, which usually consist of new seals and oil, it's pretty easy to get done beyond that. Yeah, usually you don't need to replace the pistons. You don't really need to replace a lot of the, usually you don't need to replace a shaft. You can reorder shafts, but it's a pretty straightforward process if you've got the money and the patience. So this is the patience thing that usually get people.
And how much are rebuild kits?
The rebuild kits themselves the seal kits are about 40 bucks a piece from Icon and Fox the last time I checked. Oil is another 50 bucks for a quart, which will take care of, not a quart, a gallon will take care of all 4 shocks the last time I checked.
Yeah.
But then the labor, usually the labor is between 100 and 125 bucks per shock.
Yeah.
So it's not cheap, and that's why people don't rebuild 2.0s, because by the time you rebuild all 4 corners of a 2.0, you're basically halfway into a brand new set of 2.0s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and why people don't rebuild Bilstein 5100s, because the rebuild would be more than the shocks,
Yeah, but like stuff like this where it's reusable, I think is much more,
Exactly.
It's better on your wallet, and it's better for the environment.
Yeah, and actually, if we were to rebuild these for you, in 10 or 20,000 miles, we'd be able to be like, oh well, let's adjust that spring.
Yeah.
And then valve specifically for the spring, because right now these are valved for the V8 and for that 450-pound spring. So it's riding nice, but it actually probably could be better. Yeah. So that'd be interesting to check out. If you guys have any other questions on the Ram specifically, or even on any of these shocks, hit us up in the comments, email us, hit us up on Instagram, DM us, all that stuff. Kingston is at Roaming Lost on all the channels. We're Shock Surplus on all the channels. Thanks so much for watching. We definitely appreciate your time.